Bob plus Ron show.
No, we're Bobless is what we are.
We're Bobless. Yeah, welcome. If anybody wants to call in,
Just send us a check and call all you want to.
3557 or 566-1450. You can listen to us on what, 1450 AM or 100.9 AM. No, I got that back.
FM.
It's 100.9 FM, 1450
Or
AM.
TV.
We got a call already, folks.
A victim.
Well, they didn't want to talk.
Don't blame them.
But anyway, we do have Ronnie here today. The infamous, famous Ron Sharp. We have our local county and city philosopher.
That's me.
Mr. R.L.
I'm Ronnie.
Hanson.
That's him. That's the cameraman.
And yours truly. Wild Bob and Ron Show.
Oh, how you fellas doing today?
Wet and cold.
I hear that. I just want to call and say hi to you. This is Mr. Kid's been out working.
Well,
In this weather,
Yeah.
don't you know you get waterlogged?
Oh, I hear that. Yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do, you know, buddy.
what kind of work you doing, Mr. Kitts?
I've been out here from the county, scraping the roads.
Oh, okay. You
I'd
work-
like to thank you for scraping mine. I wouldn't have been here if somebody hadn't have done it.
Yeah. Well, you take care. I'm going to say hi to you, though, buddy.
Thank you for
Okay,
calling.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks for the call.
All right.
You have a nice, wet, snowy day.
And a safe one.
And a safe one.
Yeah.
Folks, what are we talking about today? We got what's happening in this world.
We could talk about what's happened to Bob.
What's happening to Bob?
Bob may have gone south on us for a while.
If he's smart, he did.
Right.
I remember getting in a snowstorm like this one time in North Carolina. I hit 85 south, right in the middle of North Carolina. And about
If you
80
guys would slide a little closer together, I'd get you both in the same.
Well, I don't know whether we're going to
About-
get too close to
You don't want to be
him.
identified with jury, do you?
about 70 miles down the road.
By the way, folks, this is viewable on live and in person on ugtv.tv.
Well, now,
That'll work.
I have been hearing why we got all this bad weather.
How come? Global warming?
No, well, no, it ain't.
Hey, Al Gore's been up there at the Antarctic with one of these big
Huh?
flamethrowers trying to melt the Arctic.
I heard that since we put all these restrictions on Putin, that he went up there and set up some
Oh,
big,
you're talking about Mr. Putin.
yeah, Mr.
Okay.
Putin, yeah,
President Putin.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I heard he went up there and set up some big windmills up there on the Arctic.
Give us one of them vortexes,
Well,
didn't
yeah,
he?
he's a sucking this off of Siberia and sending it right around the top of the earth and right straight down to us.
We
Good
appreciate it.
man.
I'll tell you what, I'll bet part of it in this valley is them big TVA fans they got down there on Windrock Mountain. And I bet they're running right now, blowing this breezy.
Well, what it costs to run them suckers?
I don't know, but I bet they suck up a lot of electricity.
Kind of like them solar panels. Hard to get started of a morning.
You reckon they're bird powered where they call
Well,
them
I bet
bird
them
choppers?
Solar panels have been working like a charm the last few days. I mean, they've been pumping out the energy.
Got them up on the roof so you can't scrape the snow off of them.
That's right.
They was something to do with solar panels the other day. Somebody was discussing it, and it didn't have nothing to do with these solar panels, but in general. And they said that these things were losing, or that solar panels would lose 9% of their efficiency annually, and that they must be cleaned. You must keep them clean, or you're going to have more.
Well, in 11 years, they ain't nothing but rock, are they?
Well, you got a good point there. And how long have we got? 15 years to pay them out on? So,
And they're full of chemicals that are, one chemical is 17,000 times more toxic than asbestos. Another chemical is 22, and I can't pronounce these things. Ron probably could. He was he's learned in science.
He knows every one of his ABCs.
I do know there's two kinds of asbestos, and the one that is the particular type that is almost inert is the one that mostly what we've had used in this country. The white asbestos is fairly inert. The blue, and then there's and then these are not, they just shorthand version, blue, and then there's a brown. The brown is worse. The blue is the one that's deadly. We never did use much of that around here, but it is pretty mean stuff. But the white stuff does not embed in your lungs, and that's what we spent all this money and put so many people in business getting rid of, was the kind that really didn't hurt anybody.
But that's government logic. But there's another chemical that's in these solar panels that's 22,000 times more dangerous than your asbestos. And we got them sitting right over the heads of our children.
Well, fellas, I picked up a piece of trivia the other day, and the gentleman that gave it to me, he knows that, or he's aware that I try to keep up with as much stuff as I can, especially out of Oak Ridge and stuff like that. And this would be about third-hand information, I guess you would call it. Anyhow, he was acquainted with someone who was retired, and the question was asked something to do with solar generating of electricity. And my understanding is that Oak Ridge had developed some sort of a solar collector, whatever, that's a very whatever size thing it is. But anyhow, the size is not important. It's that it would produce about 1,000 times more current than our setup that we've got now. And from what I understood of the thing is that the people who were doing the research on it, they came in and all of their papers disappeared for what it's worth. Now that's 2 or 3 hand information.
Now, my opinion is that guy that invented that carburetor that got 200 miles to the gallon went in there and stole it.
Well, anyhow, that the other aspect of that is, if this is factual, we the citizens out here are not being treated fairly by government, and whenever I say that, the national lab, excuse me, is paid for by the government, by us citizens, and whatever they...
You're talking about ORNL.
That's correct.
National Lab.
That's correct. And anything that they develop or whatever else, we pay for it. So thus, if you go right back down to it, that technology actually belongs to the citizens.
Back in about 1944, my daddy was working at Oak Ridge, and he invented this he was just a lowly mechanic, but he was a foreman down there over the bus garage. And he invented this thing to grease wheel bearings. And the procedure up until that time is they had to pack the grease. They had to pack the grease in the wheel cylinder by hand. I'm
aware of that.
And it took a long time, like 30 minutes to pack a wheel. So he figured this little thing out, and you could just chuck an air hose up to it, and it was done.
Right.
And they used it there on his shift for a while, and somebody left it out, and the day shift went to using it. He's on the night shift, the day shift went to using it. They called him in. He went in one day, one evening, and they had a note there for him to come by the office. And he went in there, and they had that thing sitting out there, and they said, "Did you make this?" And he said he figured he was going to be fired, but the truth is the truth. And he said, "Yeah, I did." And they said, "Well, we're going to patent it. You made it on our time, right?" "Yeah." "Well, you won't get any money out of it unless we release it to the general public." And they patented it, and it was community property, and that was completely legal, and that was fine, because that's the way the law was set up. But that goes right back to what you said. Whatever they do down there belongs to us. It don't belong to them. As long as we're footing the bill.
You know, Bill Labs used to let their employees keep their patents, their inventions. And, it was one of the major places, I remember engineers at Bria.
Did they include the transistor in that?
60s, kids wanted to go to work. Bell Labs, that was one of their dreams, to go to work for Bell Labs. And the other one was that, who's that crazy man that built that big, spruce goose?
You ain't talking about Howard Hughes, are you?
Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes had a corporation, and a lot of engineer students that I dormed with that were studying physics, engineering, stuff, wanted to go to work for Howard Hughes because he was doing some of the most advanced work in America.
Wasn't that a band, the Hughes? What was the Hughes? There was a band called the Hughes something. Yeah.
I call them.
Yeah.
But Howard Hughes, you know, he
Hughes
came up with that satellite that sets, what do they call that? Asynchronous satellite that sets in one
Geosynchronous.
spot.
Geosynchronous.
Geosynchronous, it doesn't move, it doesn't go around the earth, it sits in one spot.
It goes at the same relative speed
And
as the earth.
that's what we use for direct TV and dish TV and all these satellite communications.
And we send Wild Bob and Ronnie all over the world with it.
And he came up with that. You know, and Hollywood made a movie about him called The Aviator and tried to make him look like a raving idiot and a lunatic. You know, one of the greatest American minds we ever had. You know, the first law that was passed by the U.S. Congress, the very first U.S. Congress, the first bill that was passed, I bet you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't a patent law, was it?
Yeah,
Patent
law.
It created patent and copyright laws and a patent and copyright office where you could maintain ownership of your intellectual property, whether it was scientific, artistic, mechanical, whatever. And you could protect it and get the benefit from it. This had never happened before in history.
Hey, it started out before you could get a patent, you had to have a working model submitted. And that got so complicated storing airplanes and stuff, they pretty soon abandoned that part.
Now you have to submit what's called a process. And they study a written explanation of the process.
In other words,
You can patent a process.
right, you can.
It doesn't have to be a thing. It can be a process.
You can copyright also just about, you can copyright anything that somebody else hadn't already copyrighted, just about it. I mean,
Well, like my software, I copyrighted all that. And essentially I had to send in like the first 10 pages and the last 10 pages. Well, you're talking
You can
about,
do a copyright on a book, but just declaring that it's copyrighted.
actually, I copyrighted a movie script, which was same thing as kind of like a book, and I did it through the Writers Guild, and they have an Eastern and a Western, and I copyrighted with the Eastern Writers Guild and with the U.S. Copyright Office. I had to submit the entire thing.
Well, that's because you didn't do a Western. Now, if you'd have had Roy Rogers, you wouldn't have had no problem.
But that was the greatest thing. America was tired. People came to America to worship in liberty and freedom and to keep their property. Property. Nobody owned property in Europe. Under feudalism, nobody owned anything except the king. And if you had a big ranch or plantation over there in England or France or Germany, it was the king that granted you the right to do that. And if you fell out of favor with the king, you lost all your property. And over here, you could get a deed. You could actually own your property.
Well, I tell you, I had a kind of a bad experience over the last few days. I went down to Digger Wilson's expecting to get some hickory flavored propane. Because, you know, I mean, if I'm going to warm by it, at least want it to smell like, you know, fires are supposed to smell, and I'm used to that hickory flavor. And I went down there and got that, and I brought it home, and I lit it, and my house is just as warm as it can be. But it absolutely had no flavor at all. I've ended up, instead of getting his flavored propane like you usually get when you're grilling and whatnot. I've ended up with his strictly stay warm propane, and it worked just fine. But I'm disappointed. I think you ought to have a warning label on there that this is not hickory flavored.
Is that like the regulations that are gonna be passed on the internet this coming week?
Well, I just want to say this.
Propane neutrality?
If you want some good propane, and you don't care if it don't stink, and you just want some, that'll make you good and warm and light your fires and run your refrigerator, and this summer run your campsite, you'd probably run a television with propane. Down at Digger Wilson's, right in the middle of the road in Sawmill Holler, 562-5, what was that number?
I-444.
5444.
I thought it was 5444, but anyway.
He is a man of great integrity. You'll be dealing with one of the better citizens of the county.
And in the next few minutes, Jerry's going to try to figure out what NAPA stands for, and we'll tell you about that later.
National Association of Political A-Holes.
Oh, okay.
Is that it?
I don't know.
If you folks want to make a contribution to the Citizens Alliance for Small Homes, and we're going to get rid of this here high energy usage housing. We're going to put everybody in a good box where they can stay warm and dry. If you'd like to make a contribution to the Citizens Alliance for Small Homes, be sure and make it out to CASH and drop it off down at my place.
CASH.
Yeah. Citizens Alliance for Small Homes.
There you go.
That's all I've got to say about that.
That works.
Speaking of Napa, that's actually, isn't that the National Auto Parts Association? We have a Napa right here and right across from IGA in downtown La Follette. And they have every car part, every motorcycle part, every truck part.
Tractors
Every
too.
tractor part. Any part you need for a what do they call that? A combustion
Internal combustion
engine.
engine.
Call 'em mohicles.
Engine-driven vehicle.
Mohicles.
And great people to deal with.
And I'd say if they don't have that part there, chances are, I've seen that truck, like if you order a part at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening, I believe it'll be here.
562-2529 if you need to call Napper.
Wild Bob and Ron.
Yeah, can I get Fort Town Baptist Church added on to the cancellations for tomorrow?
You need to call 562-1450.
Yeah, 562 instead of 565.
Oh, okay,
56.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
But it's been made a public announcement.
Fort
Thank
Town.
you.
Fort Town Church.
562-2529 was Napa's number, by the way.
562-2529.
And if anybody needs any roofing, and that snow will make your roof leak sometimes, or if you happen to have one fall in under the road, the weight of the snow, I'd like for you to call 562-2676 and tell Richard your roof's leaking.
Yeah.
Unless you bought it from us, and then you need to call your roofer.
Oh, mate. Yeah.
What do you think about this net neutrality, this internet takeover by the U.S. government? Is that going to help our situation? Will it help with pop-up blocking?
Well, if you like the fact that your sewer and water, your sewer costs more than your water, whether you're hooked up to it or not, you're going to love net neutrality.
Oh, boy.
I see no need whatsoever for the government to interfere with the internet.
There's a reason.
But
Well,
it
that-
exists.
well,
If
let me
it
back up.
exists, government's
Let me
supposed to
back
be
and say
involved.
this. I see no word that the general public is going to benefit by it.
Well, you're right about that, but there's two driving forces. It's a possible and it's a probable new tax source.
Right.
And it's definitely getting out of hand. People are actually getting out there and telling a lot of lies, but they're also slipping the truth in. Right now, a guy can go out there. You used to have to try to get some major newspaper to tell people what nefarious things are going on. Right now, Joe Blow can go out here and discover that we're building camel hunting bridges and taking kickbacks or something. Not that ever happened, but If he did, he could put it on the internet and the whole world know about it. They're afraid of that. It's scaring them to death. They've got to get control of that, and they got to control bitcoins. That's two things they got to get.
Bitcoins is the thing they got to get, well,
It and similar ventures.
if you notice on our currency, it says legal tender for all debts, both public and private.
Mm-hmm.
All right? There's a lot of places right now that will not accept money either. They will not accept cash.
Yep.
So,
Now, we've got one down the road that does, in case anybody wants to come down and spend some.
the internet is done just fine without the government. And what you're talking about people just flat out lying or whatever they want to print, is the government saying that we're too stupid to figure out or what's true and what's not
Well,
true.
they want to make sure we get the truth and don't
As they see it.
as they see it. That's
Right.
the key
Called
right there.
Gerberism.
In other words, what they're doing is, this is something that kind of bothers me to a certain extent. Why should they determine what's true and what's not true whenever we hear what comes out of Washington, and especially this administration and administrations in the past, when they flat out just, well, it's just a lie. A lot of what they tell us ain't nothing but a lie. And I saw something the other day, and it had to do with a congressional hearing. And it dawned on me that we need some sort of a regulation in a congressional hearing that whenever a person is there to give testimony, when they're asked a straight question, they're required to give a straight answer. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Well, they're supposed to anyway.
Well, you saw how weak congressional hearings become under the President Obama administration, having to do with the Veterans Administration scandal, having to do with Fast and Furious,
right,
having to do with
IRS.
investigating, targeting certain people.
I want to tell you, I didn't do anything wrong. Other than that, I'm going to take the Fifth Amendment.
Yeah.
And
right.
it's just horrifying that Congress has no more power over these people. If a person refuses to answer a question, they should be immediately terminated from any employment or receiving any benefit from the U.S. government and barred for life. You know, a lot of them people, the IRS, have gone back to work for the IRS.
Of
You know, they
course.
claim, oh, yeah, we move people around, we let you go. They're all back working now. All those people of the VA that were let go, they've all just been moved somewhere else and put back to work.
Eric Holder right now is under contempt of Congress.
Yeah.
Why not? Because he refused to testify.
That kind of bothered him. He
Oh, did you
said,
hear him on TV the other day saying, the Obama for 6 years never had a scandal.
Oh,
yeah.
The most scandal-free
What was-
administration in history.
What was-
Hello, my God, your scandals alone.
well, they can't get nobody to investigate the scandals, what it's all about.
In the situation where we're at, the way the president is signing executive orders and whatever else, why do we need Congress anyway? Why do we need any of it?
We need to just elect a king for life and forget it.
Right. If we're not going to go through our constitutional process, it makes no sense. And truth is, where is truth? Where do you hear it anymore?
What is truth?
You know, in 1598, Queen Elizabeth I, one of the greatest leaders of Western civilization, passed a law that outlawed, and I quote, false and crafty sciences.
Is that a science?
Now,
That got rid of them
included-
flat earthers, didn't it?
Now, included in this was alchemy, astrology, numerology, all that weird stuff, but also a lot of people don't realize people were tampering around with psychology. She outlawed that.
That should never have been.
Social science, psychiatry. I like to throw in Keynesian economics, but that hasn't
Wasn't
been
there yet,
invented
was it?
Yeah.
But essentially, sociology, political science, all these things, they stick the name science on the end of it. You know, if political science was a science, there'd be no more crime. If social science was a science, there wouldn't be no hunger, no criminal behavior, nothing.
Yeah.
And if political science was a science, nobody'd ever lose an election. It all ended in a tie. I mean, it's, you know, but they stick science on the end of it. It's, you know, this law lasted about 200 years. And the socialist progressives came back with a vengeance. Do you see some of the advertising on TV today, the things they're advertising, that you can get clothing lined in copper? But boy, it'll make you feel good. It'll make you an instant 20-year-old, and you can run a mile.
I've got a copper bracelet. That's all I need.
And they got this thing you put on
I just
your
have.
head.
I can't get but so far from home when I'm wearing it, you know, or they call me back. But
they got this thing you can put on your head that sends currents through your head. And another one I love. They found a protein in a jellyfish that'll make you 10 times smarter.
my problem is that when I get one of them
They're selling this junk.
when I get one of them copper helmets on, it interferes with my sleeping and my oxygen tent.
I like tin-foil helmets myself. I prefer tin-foil.
I'll tell you what, if you try to take that protein away from that jellyfish, I guarantee you'll be a lot smarter.
You'll be 10 times
It'll light
smarter,
you
won't
up in a heartbeat.
I just can't believe the junk science. Where's Queen Elizabeth and when you need her, and people like Frederick the Great? You know, he was a dictator, but he was a benign dictator. And look at Tsarist Russia, a totalitarian nation.
We're not going to throw in Ivan the Terrible now, are we?
Tsar Nicholas II had one cop for every 50,000 people.
Maybe he had more honest people back then.
We got one cop for every 280 in La Follette now.
The solution to a lot of that is a lot of the disagreements were settled amongst the disagreeers. They settled it themselves. Instead of having
I got an announcement to make. If anybody wants to make a contribution to buy some heat here for WLAL, that's 562-1450.
Just make a check out to that, what was that?
Citizens Alliance for Small Housing.
yeah,
Small houses.
the
Sustainable housing.
The beginning letter of each word creates an acronym.
The Citizens Alliance for Sustainable Housing, and we like that there. Yep.
who was the person, spokesman or whatever for the administration who interpreted what the president had to say about getting some good jobs for those Islamic, well, you can't call them terrorists or whatever he don't call them, but says that that's going to put a stop to or whatever to his terrorism if we'll get them some good jobs.
Outreach? Well, economic outreach?
It's me one of them there round things there, a lifesaver.
I kind of thought maybe them guys had.
Oh, well, wait a minute, fellas.
Wait a minute.
We just throw a whole handful
Well,
of them.
I think we
maybe
just
get one.
unplugged their phone now.
Uh,
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
But
Thank you, fellas.
I kind of thought them fellas had pretty much full-time employment over there, decapitating people and
Burn them
burning
live.
them alive, whatever
They're
else.
all wearing them new IBM suits.
Well, it looks like they're
You know.
pretty well occupied.
They're all dressed alike.
Where is it? Do we actually supposed to believe that by getting these people these terrorists or whatever, some sort of an employment, that we're going to put a stop to this?
We have
I don't
got.
understand.
You don't trust Obama?
Don't that make me answer
You
a
don't
straight
believe? You
question?
don't believe in his federal
Yeah,
programs?
yeah, I'm gonna keep my own doctor, keep my doctor and whatever else.
Yeah,
Of
you
course I
can
am.
keep the doctor. You
Hey, let me show you
your
another
health,
thing.
your insurance.
On the Obamacare, I believe Sunday was the last day for open enrollment on it. Now, by George, you see, this is a law, and in the law, they gave authority to whoever runs the thing to change the law. Whoever's in charge of the law has got the right to change the law.
I don't
So
think
now-
that's in there. They just took that authority.
Well, maybe that's what they did. But see, it is a law, and the deadline was Sunday, and now they've changed it. Just
Well, you guys were talking about jobs, And, we just we got this new proposal. What we're gonna do to save this county now is to put in a dog walk park over on the interstate. Have you noticed that?
Hadn't heard of that. I heard it during the
haven't heard
campaign.
that.
Where have you been? We're gonna put in a dog
Well,
park.
Martin's gonna put in a bowling alley for us old people.
Well, he's gonna put in a dog park.
I'm waiting for my bowling
And
alley.
while them people that are walking their dogs, kind of like them people carrying them couches out of Winter's Furniture down here when they're on the walking trail, when they stop to walk their dog, they're going to spend millions of dollars in this county, and we ain't going to have to worry about money no more. No, how could you miss that?
I think a bowling alley would stop thousands, tens of thousands of people that stop and bowl a few rounds.
Well,
went on to Florida, wouldn't it?
I've got a proposal for you, and I'd like to run this by you. It's been my observation that this county, we put a lot of effort into tourism here a while back, and we capture a lot of money from tourists. I'm not arguing that point, but that's the first thing to go when the economy goes bad. And we proved that in 2008 and 2009 when all this building out on the lake stopped because the tourists wasn't coming and the people weren't coming. Now, my opinion, we got two things that we could go after here. First off, we're not going to attract any big industry because we don't have the workforce. We can't provide what those people need. We don't have, I hate to say it, but our education level here is pretty low. But we can do two things. In my opinion, this is what we need to do. We need to attract retirees. Now, I ain't crazy about Yankees, and as long as they come and keep their mouth shut, I can get along with them just fine. I think they probably want me to keep my mouth shut too. But if they will come and bring their checks with them and retire here, that's an inflow of money. We bring in retail businesses from out of town or out of state. We're not increasing the county wealth. We're just providing a new pump to take it out of here. I've got a call.
The Bobbles, Wild Ron and Bobbles show.
The Wild and Ronnie show?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ronnie said that he didn't think we had the right, the workforce here to accommodate a big plant.
I said that, yes, sir.
Well, we got
That's right.
Well, let me put it this way. As of here in a month or two, we're going to have probably a couple of hundred available. Probably.
Yeah. ANS is closed and 2 or 3 more places is closed. And we can accommodate a Ford Motor Company plant here in Campbell County and to put it back in somewhere like the mountains. And we could get the people in here. We could bring track other people from other counties and stuff. We could probably have a good, thing going for the economy.
Well, we'd probably have a building available. We wouldn't even have to build a building.
We got sure, yeah.
ANS would be available.
ANS is probably available, and there's more, so, the county wouldn't help ANS, so I think some things are going to help you if they come in.
How many engineers have you got in this county? How many engineers do you have in this county?
How many of what?
Engineers.
Guys that run trains.
No.
Engineers?
Yeah.
That run trains?
Yeah.
No.
I run one.
What he's doing, they're mixing you up a little bit there. The question was engineers, and what we're talking about is mechanical, electrical, that type of engineer.
We've got a lot of people been through, like Ronnie, they've been through a lot of electrician stuff, but they have to go to Atlanta or they have to go somewhere else to get a job. I believe if we had a big company, like a Ford Motor Company or something come in, I believe it'd be the best thing ever happened to us.
Well, I don't disagree that it would be good if it happened, but we don't have the workforce here now. And those guys that went to Atlanta to get a job are not going to pack up and come home immediately. So we have to establish the jobs for a while before we attract the workforce. They may be people who grew up here that have to come back, but they're not here now.
Period of time, we could have that take care of them. I believe we could have.
So my point was we don't have them in place now.
That'd be hard to believe, but I believe we could.
We don't have them in place now.
We don't have the people that would pass the drug test.
That's probably.
Well, I don't know if you can let them work without it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if we can or not. They let them work without it, yes, and go on, because we're going to have to bring some industry in, or sooner or later, the county keeps using this fund, rainy day fund, and, raising taxes. All people want to do is be taxed to death.
You heard about that company over in Scott County that advertised for 20 applicants, openings?
Yeah.
They had, 20 openings, and they only had 2 people that passed the drug test out of all the people that applied.
Well, yeah,
So that's why it's hard to bring companies in here.
They will have about 15 to 20 more when they EST closes because they have to take drug tests, and when they don't have a job, they'll be able to supply that 20 people real easy. There's another 20 people from Scott County works there.
okay. What we're up against, and this whole country's up against it, is we're having to compete with the whole world. And the average pay is so low in places like China or any other place that they can have a product made and even transport it and whatever and sell it cheaper than a person can here in this country. And that's
Well,
what we're...
That's what happened in this country today. We need some kind of restrictions on who can move down there and, you know, what they can do when they get there. If they don't want to, if they don't want to go down there and make it and then try to sell it back to us, I think that they ought to find a way to explain it to them. We'll buy the product, you like it here.
Good point.
If you start restricting where people can go to do business, you'll pretty soon be out of business.
Well, like we decided such things as NAFTA, and there's a trade agreement right now in the works with, I believe it's Europe or whatever, and this thing's being kept top secret. Nobody's talking about it. And most of these things, whenever they come down, America gets the short end of the stick on it. And
Well, they just tell them here get short end of the stick on it. They don't want to invest in any kind of business. Even take care of the ones they got. You know, they don't want to do anything. We've had them leave out for years and years.
well,
Who is it that don't want to invest?
I don't know. We got to find some way to make the people here that's already got on business. We got to make it more attractive here than it is to move somewhere else.
okay.
Well, you know, E.L. Martin promised us that he could fly anywhere in the world since he was a retired colonel or a lieutenant colonel or whatever, that he could go to any military base, he could fly anywhere in the world free of charge.
Well,
And he told us that he'd be sitting in Berlin, Germany, and in Tokyo, Japan, twisting arms to get those people to come over here and bring businesses over here. He's
If
yet,
you knew that, it'd be great, wouldn't it?
well, he ain't hopped the first plane. You know, you gotta live up to your promises. And if you promise something, you should do it.
You better pray harder for him, don't you?
yeah. Well, what we're up against is like starting a business or being in business. It's getting to the point that nobody wants to be in business. The cost is so high and there's so much regulation, it's unbelievable. The paperwork involved. Just, it would take hours to explain part of it, especially if it's in anything that has to do with natural resources, water, or anything like that. It's unbelievable, the paperwork you've got to take care of.
Oh, we appreciate your call.
Yeah,
We got another caller
We sure
coming
do
in.
thank you for calling.
All right,
man.
man.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bobless and Wild Ron show.
Oh, sorry, called the wrong number.
Wrong number. Well, anyway, to finish what I was saying, we don't, despite what you might want to believe, we don't have the workforce
We don't.
to accommodate a new high-tech operation. We don't. That don't mean we can't have, but it's going to take time to build this thing. And my
Okay.
proposal is, go.
Let me show you something. If you were turning out students right now, or people who are capable and qualified to do the job,
You're going to have a 10-year lag time at the best.
That's correct, right there. And it's like in business, in my
And just
opinion.
getting the schools to cooperate with this program would be
Well,
very
And I've got a proposal for this, if I ever
Okay.
get around to it.
The schools are tied back to government. What we're gonna have to do, and I don't foresee it happening, we're gonna have to let people take risk, without regulating them to death, let them take the chances,
Let me tell you,
whatever, go ahead.
I'm going on the same idea you're talking about. We need, first off, to get that easy money, we need to attract those retirees and get their checks coming in. That's an outside money source coming into us. That's the first thing, that's the easy part. We don't neglect tourism. We take all that money we can get, but we don't put all those eggs in one basket. The next thing we need to do is establish ourselves in the minds of the general public and the world that you can come here and do a startup. You can start a business here and let it grow, and you'll be almost unhindered. We could allow the people that are here now to do that same thing, to build on what their ideas and their ingenuity, and we create jobs all along the way. We need to go out there, and this here small housing thing I was talking about, there's really a future there. There's a big wave right now for people that have been regulated out of homes. They can't go build a house. But this small housing thing is coming on. We need to go out and solicit that. We need to become the hub for people that want to come and move in their tiny home. Because what you're going to get those yuppies and hippies and stuff, but they're also educated. They're internet savvy. They're the people that will come here and do startups. Walmart didn't go into Benton, Arkansas as a massive company. They started in Benton, Arkansas and grew into a massive company. Home Depot didn't become a worldwide entity with one store. They started out as a small store. And we have got the potential here to do that. We've got relatively cheap land, relatively cheap living conditions. We need to become as regulation free as we possibly can, and we need to go out there and solicit people with ideas and work ethic, and we're going to pull all the other people along, because once it becomes a hub for that type thinking, we're not going to be hurting for jobs. But we can't just expect to run out there and bring IBM or Ford Motor Company, as the guy said. They're not going to come here. We have to have a reason for them to come here. And that's all I've got to say about that. I think it'll be the dog part.
I like your take on elderly and tourism. You know, we have the resources here for elderly people, except for our bowling alley. Once that gets put in, we'll have an additional resource for that.
We got one other resource.
Our Olympic-sized swimming pool, but we got North Lake.
Yep.
Now, folks, North Lake is 6 times bigger than Dale Hollow. You're familiar with Dale Hollow. It's over in Pickett County, and it may go into another county over there, but mainly Pickett County. Dale Hollow brings in 10 times the revenue that North Lake brings in. Did you know that?
No, I wouldn't know that.
Dale Hollow, they have marketed Dale Hollow. They have all those doctors from Lexington, Cincinnati, and Louisville coming down there, parking their boats there.
Is Dale Hollow, is it part of the PGA system?
No, Dale Hollow is U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. All the dams, there's 4 dams on the Cumberland River, and they're all 4 managed by U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay. Are they generating dams, electric generating dams?
I can't answer that. I don't know if they are or not. That's a good question, though.
Well, there's another thing that this community has to offer, and that is good ambulance service thanks to our private company, Vital Care.
Stands on their own 2 feet. Now, folks, there's another company run by a man with great personal character and integrity, who's an asset to our community in that he runs a business that was not started with government grants. It's not sustained by government monies. It is totally independent, and you get the best care and the best service that you can possibly get.
If they can haul Bob to the hospital and get him home well, they can do anything.
They can take care of Bob. They got the whole package.
562-9370 if you need a ride, medical transport. 562-9370.
And if you call 911, you can actually request Vital Care and demand that they send Vital Care.
Just an off-the-wall idea. Like what we're doing here, we're sitting here giving ideas and taking other people's and listening and putting in 2 cents. I'd like to see our leaders, be it city, county, whatever, state representatives or whatever, I'd like to see them come in and sit down and take questions. And one of the questions I'd like to ask is what is required? Go through it step by step. What must you do to start a business? And I'm talking about the legal part of it, not.
Yeah, they could come in here and inform
tell
our
us-
young people
Yeah.
on what it takes
And
to start a business.
By all means, bring a copy of the County Powers Act so they can explain that to them too.
Exactly.
But that's what is really, if you go back about it ain't been that long ago, maybe a few years, we wasn't ruled to death. And the rules are killing us. I mean, there's a rule against everything on the sun, and there's about, I don't know how many thousand every year more rules that are written and turned into laws. And just to start a business